Good morning and welcome to Brunch with Brian, your daily live stream. Yay! So we're going to have a great Brunch with Brian today, as we do every day, because this is your morning helping of success thinking with a little bit of real estate thrown in a lot of times, and maybe a little humor and a little positivity. That's what we love to talk about, is the law of attraction. And if you, however your thinking is going, the tendencies of your thinking are attracting similar thoughts. Like attracts like. And so if you're mopey and depressed and down, you're going to attract negative thoughts. And when we're real positive, we attract positive thoughts, positive actions and motivation, and we take action. So that's what we're all about, getting you guys to take action. And we always like to start off, today is actually Root Beer Float Day. So, there's a couple of other neat days today, and some, Lucille Ball's birthday is today. Who loves Lucy? I love Lucy. Okay, Root Beer, Fresh Breath Day, wiggle your toes. So there's a couple of things there. Guys, I'm actually meeting with an attorney, a new attorney today, that I thought I want to talk to you a little bit about. That was interesting. But first I'm going to tell you a joke, okay? So what do trees drink at parties? Root beer. Oh, that was too easy. I already kind of gave away the joke when I told you it was Root Beer Day. So, but that is a funny little joke. That's really good for your kids or grandkids. That's a funny one. What's dog's favorite kind of root beer? Barks. Oh, so if you know that brand there, that's a couple of good root beer jokes in honor of Root Beer Day. Those are some fun kid jokes there. But I wanted to talk today actually about, I might come back to my card, but I wanted to talk about, this attorney appointment that we're going on today. So when you're talking to an attorney, obviously every attorney has their own specialty. So we're looking in this realm here for a real estate attorney. So we're looking for someone, your primary goal is to find somebody who can sign your real estate deals and stick up for you in court. So you want someone who has maybe a little litigation experience, or has someone on their team or in their firm who does some litigation. It's not a big litigation thing, guys. So they might have to come to you with court when you're trying to do an eviction or something, and they just, show up with you. So this you're not going to run into a lot of litigious things. We haven't. I do know that it's a litigious world now. So people are out there suing. Ron says that you can use, suing people as a business tool. And in some cases, it's not such a scary thing. And if you get sued, it's not so scary either. And usually, get a good attorney. And so your attorney, though, a big primary thing that they'll do for you in real estate investing is obviously do your closings. And so if you find a good attorney, that's really helpful. And you want to find out if how familiar they are with creative financing deals. When you say subject to, do they blanch? Okay, because that's a big thing. Subject to deals, though, I wouldn't even say subject to the first time you talk to an attorney, because honestly, subject to does not really give the seller too much protection when you're buying from the seller, because the seller has no way to foreclose on you. So if you stopped paying, they'd have to wait around for their mortgage company to foreclose on you to get the loan resolved. And so generally, guys, in a perfect world where you're protecting the seller, you're going to do what we call a wrap, which is basically set up an owner financing. And this is your attorney would help you with this. Create a new mortgage to the seller, and that's called a wrap, that includes the underlying subject to mortgage. Your new wrap mortgage might be the exact same price, it might be the same amount and the same payments, but you're just covering that subject to loan. So don't even say subject to most attorneys. After you talk to them a couple times and they seem like they're good, then you can talk about doing subject to deals, which you may do sometimes. But seller financing is the main thing. And that's what you want to find out, how familiar they are with seller financing and lease purchases. That's how I'd phrase it. So when you're looking for an attorney, and then ask them, do they do closings do they work with real estate investors? Your pre-screening questions on an attorney are, do you work with investors? There's so many different kinds of real estate. There's many kinds of attorneys out there. And then there's so many kinds of real estate attorneys. And so some are just commercial real estate. There's a lot of them. And they have nothing to do with you, and you have nothing to do with them. And so you are looking for an attorney who works with smaller investors and will bring people into his or her office and do closings for you, and has a nice conference room and a credible look, and is also flexible and understands what we do, because there's definitely some ins and outs to what we do, and you definitely want someone who is a deal maker mentality. That is what you're looking for. You know, I've never identified it that way before, but sometimes you start to talk to an attorney and they're into it. They're like, oh, how did you get that? Oh, what'd you do? So how did you structure that? And they're really into it, and they enjoy the concepts and, you know, the techniques of creative financing. Other ones, you start to talk to them about it, they're not deal makers. They're not necessarily trying to put a deal together. Some attorneys are really almost just negotiators. They're really good at negotiating. Their primary job. In fact, the guy we're meeting with today, he helped us negotiate something, and I don't want to get into that whole thing, but he was really good, and we met him actually through another deal. And once we had that resolved, now we're going to meet with this guy, because I was very impressed with how he helped us negotiate this deal. So we're meeting with him, and he's actually bringing in to this, and they're taking us out for lunch. And so that should be interesting. And remind me, and I'll talk to you guys about it tomorrow. But everybody does need a real estate attorney if you're going to do real estate deals. I will say that a lot of times in some states, you just do title closings. And so sometimes you can get away with doing stuff through a title company, but you're more legally protected, and you have someone on your side who would actually show up in court and stand next to you and say, yes, I explained everything. Well, a little more so than your title agent, who, you know, you wouldn't be able to count on in quite the same way. So that's why we're happy with our current attorney, but this guy, you know, sometimes, believe it or not, it's a location issue. Sometimes you'll find a great attorney, but he's kind of far to drive for some of your sellers. And so if you find attorneys a couple of places in your town and you have good functioning relationships with them, that could be helpful as well. So I kind of got off on the attorney thing, but that's important, guys. That's an important part of your initial infrastructure, is getting an attorney that you can work comfortably with, who likes what we do, digs what we do, and wants to help you close deals, and is a deal maker. And he maybe understands a little bit about asset protection, understands a little bit about, now here's the other question you're going to ask them. When you're interviewing your attorney, you're going to say, number one, do you work with investors? Number two, do you do closings where sellers and buyers can come in and sign paperwork? Yes, yes. If you get yes and yes to that, ask them how much. Some of them might, you know, be $750 or something that seems kind of outlandish. What you want is around $350 up to $500. $500 is probably still in the acceptable range, depending on where you live. So that's, you know, so once you find out that they do all those things, then, you know, you want to say, you know, how comfortable are you with seller financing and lease purchase deals? And so if they're cool with that, and they are helpful and on board, then that could be definitely the person for you. So this guy, like I said, you know, sometimes people come to you. I didn't even reach out to this guy. We had talked to him. He was helping us resolve a different matter with somebody else, and he was actually representing the other person. But we had such a good conversation, and I could tell he was a deal maker. That's what it was. The guy's a deal maker. And so I like people like that. And now what's another thing that attorneys can be really helpful with, guys, is referrals. So if you're dealing with an attorney who deals with real estate investors like you, a lot of those real estate investors don't really understand the creative financing stuff. They really understand just wholesales or rehabs, and maybe they have other properties they're not sure what to do with, or they fixed up this property and held on to it. Now they're not sure what to do with it. And all of a sudden we can have remedies for issues that other clients of theirs may have. So if you get in with the right attorney, they could be a good referral source where they could be sending you deals as well. So you want to make a good first impression. So now when we meet these guys, what are we going to do? The one attorney and his supervising partner, we're going to bring business cards. What did I talk about just yesterday? In fact, 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. Go back and watch in your email, not this Wednesday, but I think 2 weeks ago, we showed a clip about Lynette talking about business cards. And we have lots of training actually in the Wolff Bites. You remember that whole Wolff Bites is a whole series on our YouTube channel. There's like 67 or something like that video clips there, all training. And there's 2 actually that address business cards. And one actually has the script you say when you're giving out your business card. So there's great training in that Wolff. If you don't know about that, and you may not even know about that, go on our YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/wolffcouple. And there's all those great, well, you could be watching me on YouTube. If you're there, then just go over to the Wolff Bites playlist. It's a playlist just called Wolff Bites, and just start checking them out. There's some really great training in there, and including some stuff about your real estate attorney. You know what? Sometimes I kick myself because I leave you guys, and there was things on my card I really wanted to mention and I forgot. For instance, historically, you know, I like to touch on some of the facts of history. Yes, I'm a big history buff. I know some of you guys are. And there's lessons in history. But today was actually a very historic day. And I'm glad I didn't sign off without talking about this. Today was the day that the atom bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. Wow. Boy, that bomb in Lebanon, that big, huge explosion, that almost reminded me that was like a mushroom cloud. But that was a real key decision. And Harry Truman stuck by that decision. I really like what's Harry Truman saying. Do you guys know? Who knows Harry Truman's famous saying? And I love this saying, and it's, you know, and I want you to follow this saying. So what's Harry Truman's favorite saying? See if you can type it in. But he made this decision to drop the bomb and to end the war more quickly. There was 80,000 people, estimates, killed in Hiroshima. And then remember, the Japanese still didn't give up. After we dropped that bomb and they saw the horror, they still didn't give up. And Truman had to go back and say, we're going to do it again. Please give up. And they still wouldn't give up. And so we dropped another bomb on Nagasaki, and that was 40,000 dead. So crazy, you know, we think about everything going on now, but boy, you think about how many people we've lost, and you add up all the people lost in both of those, and we've lost more from COVID. So it's kind of scary. So take care of yourself, guys out there. But there was some other things in history. So that was a sad day in history. You know, some would argue necessary, or, you know, the lesser of 2 evils, which is sometimes this, you know, the sad state of politics, the lesser of 2 evils. The other thing that I want to say great is in 1964, LBJ signed the Voting Rights Act. And so there's been a lot of talk in the country all about that with Black Lives Matter and voting rights and everything. And we got a huge election coming up. So lots of controversy around that. But you got to say John Lewis, who passed away, and that he brought a lot of focus on this issue because he was very much a backer of voting rights. So that brought a lot of focus and attention on that. And so today is the day that the Civil Rights Act in '64 was signed by LBJ. So that's great. The World Wide Web was actually invented on this day in 1991. Debuted on the internet, the World Wide Web, what we know of today. And you think about, depending on how old you are, 1991, that's hard to believe that the internet did not really even exist until then. And most of us until in the 2000s, frankly. And the Ramones had their first gig. I actually saw the Ramones live with Ted Nugent, who I interviewed. And guys, if you're on our YouTube channel, you got to go check out the Ted Nugent interview that I did when I was 18 years old. And that show, it was the Scorpions, Ramones, and Ted Nugent. And it was a killer show. And that was just a real neat time in my life. And I got to interview Ted Nugent at a record store, a Great American Record Store, during the day, and then go to his concert at night. So that was really cool. So look at that. You got to check out that interview, because if you want some good motivation, Ted Nugent, I don't know if you agree or disagree with his politics and all that, but back then he's in his early 30s and he's got the right attitude about life in terms of just going for it. Go Gonzo, he always said. So I thought that was really neat. And so some really neat things in history today. It's Balloons to Heaven Day. So if you got a balloon, release it to heaven and wish for the best. And so root beer float day, so have a root beer float and release a balloon to heaven. I know today was a little bit long, but I wanted to talk about the lawyer stuff and the bomb and everything. So we got into some interesting stuff today. And I love you guys, and I love that you're out there. And I got an awesome letter. I'm going to read a little part of it. A really neat testimonial letter from John. Hi, John. How you doing? And John sent a really awesome testimonial letter that I want to probably read part of. But, you know, we're all going through challenging times and our life isn't the same. And maybe you can't count on the things that you could count on before to stay mentally positive. And so, guys, that's why I'm here, is I hope to keep you mentally positive. We talked about, oh, I almost didn't do our deep breathing, because that's one thing John mentions is he really likes the smiling. So we're smiling. Whenever we tell a joke, I'm assuming you guys are smiling, I hope, and doing our deep breathing. So let's really do that. Squeeze it in here. Ready? Big deep breath. Hold it a little bit and let it out. Okay, another deep breath in. Oh, that was a good one. And when you let it out, remember, relax. Do your neck rolls, your shoulder rolls. One more, big smile. And let it out. All right, that was a good one. Hey, instead of starting off with our deep breath, we ended off with our deep breathing. So guys, keep on expecting success, taking action, and going by the best training, which you keep getting right here. So great to see you, and we'll see you